We welcome you to Clemson, South Carolina. We got a full slate of ACC basketball. This is the first real schedule. 7 games involving conference teams starts here at high noon today with Clemson hosting NC State. And a quick check of the cards shows you there's some big ball games. Wake and Pittsburgh also underway at this hour. You'll see a battle for first later on ESPN 2 at 2 o'clock. Florida State visits Louisville. Commonwealth Cup game, Virginia Tech, Virginia. Notre Dame at Syracuse. And then a couple of ball games tonight, including game 2 of our coverage here on ACC Network with Georgia Tech visiting Carolina as Roy Williams guns for career win 880. And then Duke on the road for the first time this year in conference play against Miami. Great to be with Malcolm Huckabee, West Durham. Welcome courtside here to Littlejohn. We get a treat here in game 1 today because we get to see Markell Johnson, who's off to a sensational start.
Wes, he's not only one of the better guards in the ACC, but one of the better guards in the country. Right now, he's 11th in college basketball, close to 7 assists per game. You talked about the overtime loss that Clemson suffered against Miami. He poses the same problems that Chris Likes does. That's going to be a key matchup today for Clemson, how they match up against Markell Johnson.
Other piece impacting NC State today for a second straight ball game, no C.J. Bryce, Malcolm.
Yeah, that's huge, and certainly I think turnovers as well, too, for Clemson. NC State does a nice job forcing turnovers.
Tony Henderson, A.J. Desai, and Earl Walton on the whistle as away we go from Littlejohn with Braxton Beverly. Here's Markell Johnson quickly on the drive. And a block is called on John Newman III. The sophomore from Greensboro draws his first and number 1 on the Tigers. It's been a tough stretch for Clemson. They've lost 2 straight, 6 of the last 7. 5-point loss in overtime to Miami here on Tuesday night. And NC State, meanwhile, 3 straight wins in 6 of their last 7. The only loss in that stretch to Auburn. For Kevin Keats, now in his 3rd year here in Raleigh. Out of the corner, Beverly. And Newman with a nice box out of Helms draws the foul from the sophomore from St. Louis. Brad Brownell, and you said this a moment ago, hard to believe this is year 10 at Clemson for Brad Brownell, who has had 20-win seasons 10 times in his 18 years as a head coach.
He's done a nice job getting this thing back in the right direction, and really some tough breaks to start off this season. All the injuries, we're going to talk a lot about that as we get deeper into this game, but certainly Brad now has done a nice job with this Clemson basketball program.
Amir Sims fouled by Bates, driving to the basket. First on Manny Bates, who's an interesting story, one of the better shot blockers in the country, let alone leading the ACC. And here's Sims to the line, and Clemson 11th in the league in free throw percentage at 69%.
And Sims has been playing some really good ball for Clemson. His last game against Miami, that overtime loss, he had 21 points, 8 of 14 from the floor. And I think this is what they need to do. They need to get the ball in the paint. Clemson, yes, they shoot a lot of threes, but they had 40 points in the paint versus Miami. I think they need to not settle for threes, try to get the ball inside, get yourself to the free throw line.
Sims leads the Tigers in free throw percentage, got 1 of 2, and there's Newman forcing the ball out of Johnson's hands, and then an over and back. Devin Daniels backed up into the backcourt. And here's the turnover for the Tigers.
And speaking with Coach Brownell before this game, he said, look, we have put together some really good stretches defensively and offensively. The biggest issue they've had, I think, is closing out games. Again, they had a chance to beat Miami. They go to overtime, but they're right there. And certainly, I think health is a big thing for Clemson. If they can get guys back healthy, they've shown some flashes.
Tigers go to work today with a lineup they haven't used all year long. Here's Newman cutting to the basket. Got Helms on the fake, and then John Newman lays in the basket. So a good start here for Clemson a minute in.
And that's twice now. They've got good movement. Again, that's a nice backdoor cut. Don't settle for threes, and that's a high percentage shot. Excellent offense early by Clemson.
Daniels took the contact to a shot up that is pulled away by Tevin Mack. Grad transfer from Alabama. Here's Alamir Dawes, the New Jersey freshman. And Trapp, he and Dawes starting together for the first time today, Malcolm. Sims launches and hits.
Well, Wes, I think he is a guy that potentially could play for a paycheck, whether it's in the league or overseas. I really love his versatility in that game versus Miami. He's gone coast to coast, made some nice plays. He can put the ball on the floor. Great size. Again, I think he is a really talented player for Clemson.
Jericho Helms Tough shot in traffic for his first points. I think Helms is a guy without Bryce on the floor, Malcolm. He's kind of a guy that maybe needs to take another step for Kevin Keats.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things he talked about, their depth. He really likes to have 8, 9, or 10 guys out there, and I think that's one of the keys for them thus far, their balance on offense. They have 5 guys that average double digits. So, again, that's another guy that adds to that balanced offense for NC State.
Leading scorer, leading rebounder. Bryce not with the team, still recovering from a kind of a freak bang to the head prior to the ball game against the Citadel. After the Citadel, prior to Appalachian State, I should say. And so he's not with them on this trip here to Clemson. And you see Bates doing what he does best.
Yeah, that's a big-time block right there. Recovery and
shot clock violation off the baseline, out of bounds.
And that's a good defensive stand by NC State. And you talk about Bates. He's one of the premier rim protectors. That's a nice job of timing. Although you would like to see him try to keep that one in play. I'm going to go a little old school on you. Bill Russell always talks about that. Yeah, the crowd oohs and ahs, but you don't have possession. You'd like to see those shot blockers block the ball and then regain possession for their team.
Quick check inside. Here's Helms on the catch and score. So Jericho Helms has all 4 of NC State's points as we're 3 minutes old here at Clemson. Tigers have struggled to find continuity in their lineup with the injuries, and some of these injuries are related to the spring and summer, especially as it relates to Clyde Trapp, who starts today in just his 4th game back after a springtime ACL tear. Here is Trapp on cue. And Sims fighting at the block with Bates. Last touch by the Wolfpack. It'll go to Clemson with 20 to shoot on a fresh clock.
And if you're Coach Brad Brown now, you have to be happy, though, with how your team has executed early.
Look at the injury numbers. These are the games missed this year, and you see that Trapp just returned. This is his 4th game back. Jonathan Bear only got 2 ball games in, right?
I mean, we joke with them before the game, and obviously it's no joking matter, but it's difficult for them to practice. Like, Coach, how do you practice? He's like, we really don't. We really haven't had enough healthy bodies to have 10 guys out on the court and go at it like you would like to in the normal course of practice. So that's really been a huge issue for them.
Bates the catch. Can't finish inside. Here's Tevin Mack and Clemson trying to find a seam in transition. Sims draws the foul. Tigers playing with some confidence here in the first nearly 4 minutes. The foul is on Helms. It's his 2nd and the 3rd on Kevin Keats' team.
Well, Wes, it's clear to see what the game plan is for Clemson. Early on in the season, they were taking a lot of threes, Clemson. In this game right here, they have executed. They've not settled for jumpers, and they're getting the ball in the paint. Again, I'll go back to that game. They lost in overtime to Miami, but they had 40 points in the paint, and they had and shown flashes like this where when they're patient and they execute, they get some high percentage shots. I think they just need to continue to do that thing.
You see substitutions both ways. Curran Scott checks in. He's the grad transfer from Tulsa to replace Newman, who's got 5 early for Clemson. And DJ Funderburk also off of Kevin Keats' bench for the first time, along with Pat Andre as well. Amir Sims has got 6 of Clemson's 11. Early 7-point lead, and Daniels shooting from the corner. 12th 3 of the year for Devin Daniels.
And Wes, that's all set up by Markel Johnson. Again, we talked about the key for Clemson in this game. You cannot allow him to break you down off the bounce and then find shooters. They have to do a better job keeping him out of the paint so that way you don't collapse the D.
Down low, Sims fighting with Andre for the ball at the block. And the foul will be on Pat Andre, his 1st and the 4th on NC State. When we come back, Kevin Keats mastering small ball for the Wolfpack as well. Well, 11-7, Clemson in front. Kevin Keats now, year number 3 in Raleigh, his 6th as the head coach with 127 career wins. And of course took the pack to the NCAA tournament. Denied last year, but tell you what, their card looks really good for a postseason bid this year. But we talked about mastering small ball. That is the self-proclaimed, not heralded, that is the self-proclaimed ping pong champion of the Wolfpack, Malcolm.
Well, I got a little something to say about that. I had a chance to talk with him yesterday at practice. Could not find a ping pong table in the house because I was going to test that claim. But he was going at his staff and players, talking about his record, which he boasts. He is undefeated. And he said, look, it's not even close when I play these guys. It's embarrassing how sorry they are at ping pong.
He's got a graduate manager on his roster, on his staff, and Craig Ponder, who played for him at UNC Wilmington. And he called Craig Ponder over to you and said, Craig, how many times have I beaten you? And he said 110 in a row. And people laugh, but, I mean, Ponder's, that's a guy who's lost 110 straight ping pong games to the coach, and he gladly admits he's lost 110.
I mean, he came over and he had a big smile on his face, and he's like, yeah, I know what he's talking about. It got real animated at the end of practice.
Yeah.
And, he definitely was not afraid to let all these guys know in the building that he is the king of small ball. Ping pong we're talking about here.
I'm telling you, we're going to get Huckabee and Keats and a table and cameras before the end of the regular season. I feel confident at some point. There's a save off the miss. So Clemson turned it over at one end, and now Trapp. You see the big brace on the right leg of Clyde Trapp. That's a torn ACL that he has recovered from and now trying to get back on the floor and still has to play with that brace as Sims backs down Funderburk with 10 to shoot. Dawes has been quiet early. Double teamed out of the corner and turned over. Funderburk and Markel Johnson make it tough to move.
Yeah, and that's what one of the themes we talked with Coach Brownell about this, which was turnovers.
Right.
Again, NC State, they do an excellent job of turning teams over. You look at the numbers right there, that plus 3, close to 4 turnover margin, and that is a big part of their offense. They get a lot of offense off of turnovers, getting out in transition, and that's why they've one of the highest scoring teams in college basketball.
Johnson missed on the 3. Out of the corner, Dawes. And one and done are the Tigers at the offensive end. Daniels trying to find some room against Scott. Here's Beverly slashing. Funderburk inside, had it poked away momentarily by Scott, and a held ball. And held ball goes to Clemson on the possession. NC State has been blanked on the glass here early. They got 2 now, picked up a couple. But through the first time out, they were shut out. And this is a team, by the way, that's plus 1.5, and Clemson is toward the bottom of the ACC in rebound margin. Here's that pressure Keats was talking about. And this is almost a calling card, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and they give you a variety of looks out of that. That time they went to the 2-2-1 full court.
Deep corner for 3, and Hunter Tyson, his 14th of the year from behind the line.
That's great execution, breaking down that full court press.
Funderburk tried to answer. The Tulsa transfer is Curran Scott to the rack, and a foul.
Well, a couple of things we talked about coming into this game, how Clemson would rebound, if they can avoid turnovers, and then can they execute offensively.
Right.
Well, you check those boxes off early on in this game. They have done a nice job on the defensive glass. They haven't turned the ball over, and then in the half court they've executed. And typically early on in the game for Clemson, you see a lot of threes. That has not been the case to start this game off. Everything is going towards the basket off of their half court sets or in full court transition, breaking down the press. They've had some nice looks from the perimeter.
Scott hits both free throws here, Malcolm. Clemson's got their largest lead now, 9 points early. Tigers playing with a real sense of urgency, and that was a concern NC State had. You knew you were going to get a wounded team, so to speak. Funderburk to work inside, gets the foul from Sims, and DJ Funderburk on the board. Second foul on the Tigers, first on the junior Sims. Pat Andre, nice pass.
And on the other side, that's what NC State needs more of. Again, get some high percentage shots. See if now you can try to turn Clemson over. But early on, again, it's favor Clemson. They have been the better team executing on both ends. That's a big bucket right there, though, for North Carolina State.
Trey Jemison has come in the ball game for the Tigers. Free throw by Funderburk. Cuts it back down to a 6-point Tiger lead. And here's the pressure with Andre out front. And this is Dawes, the young man from Newark, with John Newman, Trey Jemison, Hunter Tyson, Curran Scott on the floor. Skip back out front, the lefty three, Newman.
Well, Wes, you can't ask for a better look if you're Clemson. Extra pass, wide open three. That's pretty good offense.
Bates with a handoff on the screen for Daniels. Jemison slaps it out of there. They'll give Daniels the bucket. Devin Daniels has got 5, and the big 7-footer, the sophomore from Birmingham, the rejection. But on the way down.
Yeah, nice little hesitation right there. Yeah, that's clearly hit the backboard first. And again, nice offense by NC State, getting the ball in the paint area. And here they go again with that full court pressure and a different look. This is almost like a diamond set right here. So again, they will give you multiple looks out of their full court pressure.
Little reroute by Tyson on the dribble. 5 in a row by NC State. Jemison skips it. Tyson another one. Nope, front rim miss, and Daniels pulls it away. It was a 9-point lead, and now all of a sudden NC State chipping away. And no surprise being done defensively. Andre, the deep three. Beverly a second chance. Bates the follow.
Wow. I mean, his elbows were in the rim. That is a big-time putback by Manny Bates.
7-0 run by the Wolfpack, and the big fella cleans it up. Down to a 2-point lead and trapped to work. Baseline Scott in trouble. Kicks for Newman's three. Got it. John Newman III has got 8 of Clemson's 19 here in the first 9 minutes. He only had 7 points and 7 rebounds against Miami here on Tuesday.
Well, it's been really impressive early on, Wes, to watch Clemson execute offensively. They're getting some high-quality looks off of excellent ball movement.
Newman and the Tigers off the miss of the 3 from Funderburk, and Clemson here trying to regenerate some energy. There's another cut. Jemison a nice catch and score. I get the impression if Jemison gives you something offensively, it's like extra.
And that is definitely right on point. He is amped up and giving them a nice boost on both ends.
Fall away, Beverly answers. First points for the junior Braxton Beverly. The game is 5 points, and we're halfway home in half number 1 here. There's another cut. Tyson went for the dunk. It got blocked by Bates. Manny Bates at both ends around the rim.
It's so easy to see why he's 6th in the nation in shot blocks.
Tyson will take the foul to prevent Funderburk from getting the dunk on the cut, and we get a break at Littlejohn. But Manny Bates, Malcolm Huckabee.
Well, he's known for his shot blocks, but right here, showing off the hops, Manny Bates with the big-time putback for NC State.
Five-point lead for Clemson, Malcolm, just beyond the midway point of half number 1 here.
Yeah, Clemson doing a really good job executing on the offensive side. You're going to take a look right here where they use NC State's aggression. You think the big's going to come out and heads hard? Slip the screen. Little ball fake. Again, use their aggression against them. Don't settle for threes. Early on in this game, Clemson has done a couple of things nice. I think first and foremost, they haven't turned the ball over against NC State pressure, but then they've executed in the half court and transition.
And assisted on every field goal.
It really, and that is key right there. No one-on-one ball. They're making the extra pass. again, it's been really a nice performance for Clemson to start this game off in the half court, but I think the key thing against NC State's full court pressure, they haven't turned it over.
DJ Funderburk to the line after the foul on Tyson got us to the timeout. Wolfpack is fourth in the ACC in free throw percentage at almost 72% as a team. Funderburk missed them both. That's the kind of number right there that gets you 9 wins in your first 2 years and change on the job on the road in the ACC. Kevin Keats comes in a win today. He would be 500 in his first 20 games on the road in the ACC.
It's amazing the turnaround job that he has done, where he has got this program, and I think the key word, consistency. That's the thing you look for everywhere he's been consistently good, and I think the formula is pretty simple. Defense and then balanced attack on offense. You look at what they've done. NC State, their numbers, 5 guys average double digits, and on any given night they have a player that can be the leader on the offensive side. So again, balance on offense, and then they have an excellent defensive squad.
Yep. They attack you at both ends of the floor, just as he did in his first head coaching job at UNC Wilmington. Newman out of a double team trap. That's deep from the front. And Jemison tried to keep it alive, touched it last. It will belong to NC State. Wolfpack is here. They haven't played in 6 days. They beat Appalachian State last Sunday, 72-60. They were plus 19 on the glass that day. There's Markel Johnson, who is scoreless so far. Jemison trying to help, mismatch inside, and there's Bates, and he got it blocked by Tevin Mack. How about that? Clemson trying to find an alley. Here is Mack. Well, they got to get Tevin Mack back on cue. He's only averaged 4.5 points in his last 4 ball games after a pretty strong start. 3 ball away. Jemison kept it alive. Mack the rebound. Curran Scott tees one up. Scott has got 5. Just hit his 11th 3 of the year. It's back to 8 for Clemson.
Unselfish play by Tevin Mack. Off the offensive rebound, kick it back out, but it all starts with the defense. Tevin Mack giving the shot blocker a dose of his own medicine. Right now, Clemson rolling.
Malcolm, I think if you're nice, you can go back up there and she might give you a piece of that.
Yeah, now I got no chance of getting anything out of that bucket right there.
You got a chance for Georgia Tech, Carolina, though, tonight at 6. Smith Center, Chapel Hill. Mike Monaco, Jordan Cornette will be there for you as Roy Williams guns for career win 880. He would pass Coach Smith tonight with that victory. Josh Pastner and the Jackets, though, are back to full health. Jose Alvarado, Jordan Usher, Michael DeVoe, James Banks inside. A challenge for the Tar Heels, who unfortunately announced yesterday Anthony Harris is going to miss the rest of the year with an ACL injury, and it's not the knee he was rehabbing from, it's the other knee. And, well, we're pulling for Anthony Harris to make a full recovery. That's a tough break for Carolina. He had been really, really good in absence of Cole Anthony.
Yeah, you just hate to see that, and obviously similar to what's going on right now with Clemson, the injuries. But I can't say enough about Roy Williams. It's just amazing the career that he has had. Hall of Fame coach, and certainly, though, this year has been a challenge with the key injuries.
Tar Heels and Jackets comes up later tonight, 6 o'clock here on ACC Network. You saw Clemson deny the Wolfpack at the iron. Here's Mack trying to get on track. And Tevin Mack bangs home the 3, his first points. Largest lead of the day for the Tigers.
Well, I think this might be the best I've seen Clemson execute on both ends, Wes. I think their defense, you look at the rebounding numbers right now for them, they're a +5 in the rebounding department in this game, and they're on an 11-2 run right now, and I think a big reason why their defense, and then they're cleaning up the defensive glass.
Yeah, they're +4 on the rebound totals here early. Markel Johnson scoreless, little Euro step with the left hand. Curran Scott quickly front court. Dawes. Sims got off to a hot start, been quiet though here in the last few minutes. And that's good for Clemson, exploring somebody else as a scoring option. Amir at the front. Mack kept it alive. And Scott tried to make the save, stepped out of bounds in front of the state bench.
Well, I'm really impressed, Clemson, against a very good NC State defensive team, how many open looks they've had. Again, we saw the possessions where they slip screens, but then they've had wide open looks from beyond the arc. A lot of them have not fallen, but they've had quality looks from beyond the arc.
It's not just the extra pass, right?
Yeah. No, they've broken them down, slips of screens, and then excellent ball movement.
Oh, look at Johnson. Helms a three. Sims will run it down. Tigers cross-court pass. Scott missed the layup. Slapped out of bounds, and last touch by Clemson. It will go back to NC State.
Oh, man, Sims looking like Magic Johnson with the long pass right here. I mean, that is a beautiful pass. That's pinpoint everything except the finish, but that's why I really like Amir Sims. His versatility, again, he's a big that can do a lot of different things, that time leading the break and showing off the passing skills.
Tigers leader in points and in rebounds. There's a carry by Johnson. Whistle by Tony Henderson. That will send it back to Clemson. It's interesting, though, with the injuries, Malcolm, and then kind of the slow continuity for Brad Brownell's team, the Tigers really don't have a big. I mean, Jemison we saw for a few minutes, but he's not a 25-minute guy per ball game. There's a turnover by Trapp trying to cross it.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think that's something, though, that they can use to their advantage. I think Sims is capable of guarding bigs, but I think he poses matchup problems as we take a look at his steal.
Boy, Newman frustrating Jericho Helms. And a foul on Funderburk will be his first, and that's 7 on NC State here in the first half with 5:59 to play.
Well, coming into this game, we thought we would see this on the other side. NC State coming up with steals. It's been the reverse in this game. That time, Newman active, coming up with a steal, and that is the story of this game. Clemson's defense and their defensive rebounding.
Don't forget, tomorrow, women's basketball on ACC Network, presented by Food Line. Number 7 Louisville welcomes Duke to the Yum Center, 2 o'clock Eastern. We get a look at Dana Evans of the Cards and Haley Gorecki of the Blue Devils here on ACC Network. John Newman's got 10, just his second double-figure game of the last 11 he's played for Clemson. And they've got a 13-point lead under 6 to go. Helms. Hard drive and third field goal is the reward.
And that's a nice job by Manny Bates clearing out a lane for him. Again, you'll see that a lot with bigs. They're clear a lane for a driver. Excellent job by Bates.
Sims picked up on the dribble. Here's Newman. Oh, skip. Dawes, a high arcing three. Wow, Amir Dawes.
I mean, what a pass. That is a beautiful cross-court pass. That's almost like a quarterback arm right there. And
first basket for Markel Johnson with 5:05 to play in the first.
Well, that's the guy that NC State, we haven't called his name a lot.
Yep.
Credit Clemson. He is the guy that makes their offense go. He's going to have to get going for NC State to get back into this game.
Newman. Johnson reached in there, poked it away. Here's Trapp against Beverly. Newman slides baseline. Manny Bates back on the floor with Helms, Daniels, Beverly, and the Clevelander Markel Johnson. And Dawes stole it. On the run, the rookie lays it in. And you pick Markel's pocket, you have committed real crime in the ACC.
And watch how Clemson's guarding Johnson. They are shading guys, creating a wall for him.
Beverly to answer. 3 from the deep corner.
That's a tough shot. Not a bad contest, but man, Beverly high arc.
And then Beverly took it from Dawes but couldn't control it, and that'll get us to a timeout. Well, NC State at level par in the league and 10 wins. And Alamir Dawes goes big game hunting on Markel Johnson.
Well, how does Clemson have this 34-23 lead? Their defense, the job that they have done on Markel Johnson has been a team effort. One of the better guards, not just in the ACC, but in the country. It has been a team effort. They're creating a wall, and then they're coming up with turnovers. Right now, Clemson is winning the turnover game. They have 12 points off of turnovers. They are doing a nice job all around of creating a wall with all 5 guys with their eyes on Markel Johnson. That is a big story in this game.
Alamir Dawes, who started today with Clyde Trapp for the first time for Brad Brownell. Both guys on the floor with Curran Scott, Tevin Mack, and Amir Sims. Beverly, Johnson, Helms, Daniels, and Manny Bates out there for the Wolfpack. Slip screen, Sims the dunk. Once again, Malcolm.
I mean, they're just executing. I mean, it has been a clinic on slipping screens. The bigs are being aggressive for NC State, trying to heads hard on ball screens or down screens. Clemson bigs and forwards are doing a nice job slipping screens, and I think the key thing, pinpoint passing. They're making some nice passes in their half-court sets, Clemson.
Daniels back for Helms, and Jericho Helms has 9 to lead NC State here in the first half on his 15th 3 of the year. He's playing with 2 fouls, by the way. He picked up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes and has come back on the floor and really giving a little bit of a scoring spark to the Wolfpack. Inside 3 minutes, here's Sims now. Bates well out. Sims tried to take him baseline. Mack, another 3. Now Clemson's got to be careful here, right? Because they only average about 8 threes a game. You can shoot yourself out of things.
You were reading my mind.
Yeah.
You don't fall in love with the 3. That's not what's got you this double-digit lead.
Bates the stick back. Tugged it away from Mack, who was battling down below the basket, and Manny Bates has got his second field goal.
Just like that, it's down to single digits.
And Brad Brownell a timeout. 30-second timeout for the Tigers. Clemson an 8-point lead. I'll tell you what, Amir Sims wide open. Brad Brownell a timeout. His team leads 8 with 2:26 to play. Native of Evansville, Indiana, played high school ball with Calvert Cheney.
Wow, you're going way back on me.
Yeah, but it's right there. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. One of the all-time greats. Love the lefty, smooth shooter, and what a career he has had. And right now, though, NC State doing a nice job getting back into this game.
Does Clemson have to slow this down a little bit?
They do. I think the biggest thing, though, for them is don't fall in love with the 3. We just talked about that. Keep getting the ball down in the paint area.
There's one out of the corner by Scott. Tigers are getting the ball in a scoring position. 8 for Scott off Brownell's bench. Lead back to 11.
And you don't mind that 3 right there. Again, off of ball penetration, kick out to a wide open 3. That's fine.
Tough shot. Markel Johnson tried to score over Sims, and Amir at the other end. Offensive foul. It's a pretty good piece of transition defense by Beverly, who found that spot outside the arc. 2nd on Sims, 5 on Clemson.
As soon as you saw him dribbling that, you saw this play developing. Excellent job by Beverly that time, setting that up, lull him right there, and you knew he was going to slide over as soon as he dumped it off. That's great transition D, as you talked about.
So for the last 107 seconds of this first half, Amir Sims will likely be on Coach Brownell's bench. Boy, Dawes looks like he's ready for the challenge. Tigers go zone here, and Beverly fouled by Trapp. 6 on Clemson, 1st on Clyde Trapp Jr.
Well, these are the, I think, breakdowns that Clemson has had. And again, you go back to their Miami game, they lost in overtime. They showed flashes just like this, have they shown in this game, where they can execute on both ends. I think a breakdown like that, though, you must know where Beverly is at all times.
By the way, Nothing But Net comes up every Sunday night. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, you'll get all the review and preview of the week in ACC basketball on both the men's and women's side. It's the only way we know how to do it here on ACC Network with Nothing But Net. Sunday night, 6 o'clock. Also available on the ESPN app.
How about the career this guy has had? All the threes that he has made. In 2 seasons, he put up 136 threes made. He can just flat out shoot the ball, and you put him alongside one of the better point guards in the ACC, and Markel Johnson, and that is a really nice 1-2 punch.
Yes, it is. Lead is 9. Tiger bench has helped him here in the first half. Inside, nice pass. Scott to Jemison for his second field goal. $11-point lead again for Clemson. Johnson on the lob, Bates the catch, and Manny Bates gets the hoop.
Kevin Keats wants a foul, and there was a lot of contact on that. No play, no call by the ref, and that's great, though, concentration by Bates to catch that, come down, take the hit, and then finish.
Trap. Double team was coming. Here is Dawes, another high arcing three. Bates with position against Jemison. Pat Andre knocks down the open three. 25th three of the year for the transfer, grad transfer from Lehigh. His dad was an outstanding player at Notre Dame. Tim Andre for the Irish. Final 8 seconds, and here's Dawes. Scott back for Dawes, put it up, and the half will end. It's a 6-point lead for Clemson. And Malcolm, got to tell you, the Tigers' aggressive nature in the opening 20 minutes might be the difference here.
It really is, but I think the only problem with that, they should be up more than 6. It feels like they should be up more than 6. So if you're NC State, you have to feel pretty good going into half. NC State, Clemson done a nice job executing, but they're right within striking distance, NC State going into the half.
Tigers are winless in 3 conference games. NC State 1-1, and we got a 6-point game at the half next. Halftime here at Littlejohn Coliseum. Clemson 41, NC State 35. You may have heard that a week from Monday night, there's this little football game in the Louisiana Superdome featuring the Clemson Tigers and another group of Tigers from Louisiana State University. Great to be with Malcolm Huckabee Westrum. So why not? Let's have some picks. I'll start first. I like the Tigers.
And why? Give me a couple reasons why.
No, I like the Clemson Tigers.
Okay, all right.
To win a week from Monday night.
Okay.
I think run the ball, slow the game down. Travis Etienne has a big night. Defense is very good. Plus, been playing with a chip on the shoulder all year. Yeah. They're the underdog again.
I'm going to take all that. I'm just going to steal your notes, take all that. But I got another reason. It's a personal one for me. It's near and dear. I have a special connection to this Clemson football program. Assistant coach and defensive back coach Mike Reed was a very dear friend, still is, and we were classmates. That is us, 1994.
Is that a Paisley tie?
You know, come on, man. My game was tight even back in college. That was a style back then, all right? So don't go hard on me.
All right.
But Mike Reed played 4 years for Tom Coughlin at Boston College.
Right.
He's now the assistant coach, cornerbacks coach for Clemson. Little fun fact about him, he was the last pick in the 1995 NFL draft. Went on, had a good career there, but for me, good coach.
Yeah.
Very good player, but even better, man. And anytime that I see a Clemson game, I'm always rooting for them. So that is the reason why I am picking Clemson.
I like that reason a lot. By the way, here are the last 5 college football playoff title winners since we started this process. And, of course, Clemson has a chance to not only become the first to win 2 straight, to win 3 of the last 4. Halftime at Littlejohn on a busy Saturday of ACC basketball. Tigers up 6 at the break. Back in. We get ready to start second half here at Littlejohn Coliseum. Busy day of ACC basketball. 7 games on the card. Clemson leads NC State 41-35. Welcome back courtside. Great to be with Malcolm Huckabee, West Durham. Appreciate you spending part of your basketball Saturday with us. Curious first 20 minutes here today, Malcolm.
I mean, it's really a reversal of roles. We came into this game thinking NC State would be able to turn Clemson over. It's been the reverse right now in that first half. Clemson, 12 points off of turnovers in that first half. But I think the big thing, offensively, they have executed to perfection at times. Excellent ball movement. You take a look right here. Cross-court pass, extra pass, unselfish play. That has been the story in this first half. And then I think this key right here. Slips of the screen. Wes, we saw this multiple times on multiple possessions where the bigs have dove in hard to the lane and they've gotten the quality shots inside the paint area. They've done a nice job in the half court executing.
All right, Clemson the other night was tied with Miami at the half, lost in overtime. They led Virginia Tech on opening night, lost the ball game. They led Florida State by 6 at the half, and Tallahassee lost the ball game. So mentality for the Tigers here. Going to be an interesting start. Wouldn't you think? There's Daniels on the drive as we get going. I mean,
if you watch the end of their Miami game, which they wind up losing in overtime, they had a chance to win the game. It's a tie ball game, 26 seconds left to go. And they just weren't able to execute at the end. I think closing out games, that is going to be key for Clemson, not only in this game, but as they continue to get deeper into ACC game.
By the way, this is the first time NC State has trailed at the half in conference play. They led Georgia Tech by 7, lost in overtime on opening night. And they led Wake 9 in Winston-Salem in a game they ultimately won. Down the stretch, Daniels hits both free throws. He has 7.
Well, let's see what adjustment NC State makes to the ball screen defense. I think their rotations have to be better on those slips of screens. As you take a look right there.
Mack. And now here's Trapp. Remember, he and Dawes starting for the first time today this year. And the jumper, Tevin Mack tried to keep it alive, and Johnson will pick it up. So already a couple of free throws for the Wolfpack. They trail 4. Helms played with the 2 fouls, got through the first half, into the locker room still with the 2. Johnson, quick trigger 3. Entry pass for Sims. Boy, Daniels, that's a tough match for him. Kick out for Max 3. And Newman touched it last. It'll belong to the Wolfpack.
Well, Wes, another interesting stat from that first half, free throws. Clemson took 8 free throws in that first half. They were 7 of 8 from the free throw line. In their game, last game versus Miami, they took 2 free throws in the first half and only 12 for the game. And I think that just tells you the emphasis on driving the ball to the hole and try to get the ball in the paint area.
Daniels drives it right to the rim and scores. He's got all 4 NC State points here in half 2, and the Pack to within 2. Closest they've been since it was 16-14.
Well, Wes, we can hear the NC State coaches yelling, watch the slip.
Yep. There's Sims taking Bates inside. Oh, nice pass. Tevin Mack missed the dunk, draws the foul from Manny Bates. 2 shots coming on the second foul against Bates.
All right, here, this is just all Daniels, no help, and then that's a tough finish going away from the basket. Excellent body control, eyes on the rim the whole time, and Coach Brownell definitely not happy with that defensive possession. They need to have help when you have ball penetration like that.
4 for Tevin Mack, who has had a circuitous college career. Started at Texas, averaged 15 points in 15 games in 2017, then went to Alabama. 9 points for the Tide a season ago, and now is a grad transfer here at Clemson. He's averaging 11 points and 5 rebounds, but in his last 4 games, he's averaged just 4.5 points, and he's got 5 after the free throws there. Push it back to 4.
Clemson
zone?
Clemson switching it up. A little matchup zone, it looks like, and trying to give NC State a different look on defense.
Helms couldn't get through. 3 to shoot and a fall away. Dawes on the outlet. Here's the no look. Sims the catch and one. Wow. If you rack this to the top, Sims sets the screen to push him over the top, and NC State doesn't cover it.
It's been a big man dive clinic and slippers of screens. That's what Clemson has done all game. Their bigs are screening, and then they are diving hard or rolling hard to the basket, and the guards are finding them. That's a beautiful no-look pass. And another bucket in the paint.
11 for Amir Sims. 17th best scorer in the ACC at 13-2. Also one of the conference's top 10 rebounders coming into the ball game. Daniels airballed the 3. It'll go back to the Tigers.
Well, I like the adjustment by Brad Brownell to go to the zone. Remember, to start off that second half, they gave up 2 drives to the basket. Their inability to keep guys out of the paint, go to zone, that has worked these last 2 possessions against NC State.
Dawes. Here's Trapp. 10 to shoot for Sims. Working on Bates. And a travel call by Earl Walton on Amir Sims. Brad Brownell telling us that this guy is the leader of the basketball team. Junior from Palmyra, Virginia. This is a team void of a true big, with Jonathan Baird having a hard time getting back from his ACL injury in the spring. And Malcolm, Amir Sims, if the term alpha dog applies, he's got to be the guy.
Yeah, and I really, again, like his versatility, and the injuries, as we've talked about, really has hurt, I believe, their consistency. Because they just haven't been able to practice consistently. But that guy right there, that's something that he can consistently do good and get into the paint area. That's just a big-time play by one of the better guards in the country, Markel Johnson.
5-point lead. Trapp. Back to Scott. Trapp will try from the front. Airballed one there, and Sims couldn't get to it. It'll go back to the Wolfpack. 5-point lead for Clemson, almost 4 minutes old, and things maybe not as comfortable for both schools as they were in the opening 20 minutes. Certainly not the Tigers, who had the 6-point lead at the break. Johnson. Fall away over the top of Dawes, and Markel Johnson scored 4 in a row now for NC State.
We did not call his name a lot in the first half. Right off the top, I said that's going to be a key in this game, how they match up against him.
There's a backdoor cut, layup, Dawes. Boy, how many points does Clemson have on the backdoor cut and the slip?
It's been a backdoor clinic. Ooh. And I would say 50% would not be a far stretch.
Entry pass stolen by Mack. Trapp. Tigers back to a 5-point advantage after the bucket a moment ago by the freshman. You can almost see it develop, can't you?
You can, and they've done a nice job. As just when I was ready to praise them about the turnovers or lack thereof, they turned the ball over. But right here, we're taking a look at Markel Johnson, one of the better guards in the country, finishing. And then it's been a backdoor clinic for Clemson, still on top by 5.
Five-point lead for Clemson with Malcolm Huckabee, Wes Durham, Rick Walensik, our producer today, and great to have Todd Benjaminson with us as our director. And here's a flashback now. These two teams played twice a year ago, Malcolm. Clemson lost both games by a combined total of 3. This was late January in Raleigh, and Braxton Beverly bangs a triple to take The Pack from 1 down to 2 up at the horn. It's never over with these two.
Heartbreak, and that's something that Clemson needs to figure out. Now, we talked about the injuries. That's well chronicled. The Miami game, it's a tie ball game.
Right.
26 seconds ago, they have the ball. They couldn't close it out. I think execution on both ends to close this game out, it's going to be no different. I think this one's going to go down to the wire as well, too.
Pat Andre on the floor, first time second half for Coach Keats and the Wolfpack. Here is Funderburk, who's also appearing for the first time, working on Sims. Whole different customer offensively is DJ Funderburk. He's got 5. By the way, Funderburk came in this ball game 23 of his last 30 from the floor.
And that's not bad defense by Sims as we take a look at another slip of the screen. But again, that's not bad defense. That's just better offense by Funderburk. That is a big-time spin in the lane and finish.
It's our first real look at the Wolfpack in person. Can Kevin Keats play Funderburk and Bates together at any point?
He can, and he likes bringing Funderburk off the bench. We talked to him about this. He says, look, I just like having his energy and production coming off the bench if we're struggling a little bit. And yes, though, that goes to the versatility that he likes.
Newman from the Tiger Paw. Second chance for Clemson. Ten to shoot. Skip for Sims. 5 to shoot. He'll launch. And the rebound uncontested for Daniels.
That's when Sims has got a smaller guard on him. Don't settle for a 3. Try to get into the basket.
Andre the catch and nice reverse. His second field goal. Another move along the baseline rewarded around the rim. We've seen a lot of baskets at the rim today. 1-point game, almost 7 minutes gone second half. Kerr and Scott, who gave him a nice lift off the bench in the first half. Here's Mack driving Daniels and 1 for Tevin Mack, who's come alive here in the second half.
Well, that's just a grown-up move right there. You're just going to take a smaller guy. I'm just going to go over you. Nothing you can do. Take the hit, body control, and then that's excellent touch. Flexed on him afterwards, but that's a big bucket for Clemson as NC State was on a little bit of a run, and that's a big answer with the three-point play.
Tevin Mack, 5.5, 8 in the ball game, and Clemson's pushed it back to a 4-point lead. Oh, Markell a step back on Dawes. Johnson's got 8, and the 6 in the second half have been pretty tough.
That's just tough right there. Pull the string, put on the brakes, and then pull up from the free throw line.
Mack trying to keep it going. And the rebound for Johnson. NC State's hit their last 5 shots from the floor. They can take the lead with a 3. Johnson shoots for the advantage. That was quick.
That one was quick, but you can't fault him the way he has played for them throughout. But you definitely would like to get a better look, though, if you're NC State.
Boy, Tevin Mack going to get another trip to the line for another and 1 possibility, and Markell Johnson draws his second foul, and 5 on the Wolfpack here in the second half with almost 8 minutes gone.
They continue to use their aggression against him. Again, another slip of the screen. The help is late, and the result, another 3-point play opportunity. And the coaches right here to our right, we can hear them yelling to all the bigs every time. Slip, watch the slip anytime they go to set a screen. The bigs of Clemson are doing a nice job splitting and then slipping the screens.
Johnson back for Andre, the catch, and foul on Mack. Tevin Mack knocking Pat Andre to the deck. 3 free throws for the Wolfpack when we come back on the first foul against the grad transfer. Brad Brownell's team, world travelers in this summer season. We'll tell you about it when we come back to Tiger Town.
The gold medal for the World University Games is an incredibly rewarding experience. I tease Dabo Swinney that he's a two-time national champ, but I'm a world champ, so I've got one up on that at least. He's got to go international for him to battle with us.
They went to Italy this summer, and one of the sidebar stories is Clyde Trapp, who's wearing 0 there on the bench, tore his ACL the day before they left. Jonathan Bear had already torn his ACL. And I thought Coach Brownell was very, very revealing to us about how hard it's been for Clyde Trapp. He has to stay here. They won't let him travel, Malcolm, with the injury. So he doesn't enjoy Italy, enjoy the success that team had. He's almost had to reconnect himself to this basketball team coming off the injury.
Yeah, and it's really a tough break. And as you talked about, and Coach Brownell talked about, not only the physical toll that it took,
right,
but the mental and the emotional toll, and then just trying to fit in with the team. I think that's obviously contributed to the slow start. But the good news is you can tell he's getting healthier, and he is so key to what they do. But Coach Brownell definitely, it was a really wonderful experience for the guys that were able to make the trip. And
well, you know, you played overseas. Basketball is a worldwide game, but in Italy, there's some passion about the game.
I'm going to tell you right now, they did not take too kindly if you were the visiting team. I had some wonderful experiences, but dealing with opposing fans was not one of them.
Well, and it's funny because you hear the stories about Clemson's experience, and they knew they were representing the U.S. as a team, and this is not the first time that's happened to a college team in the World University Games. But it got real when, and Brad Brownell said in the fall, as you see NC State get the benefit of a Clemson turnover, Brad Brownell said it became real when we walked in the stadium for the opening ceremonies and 65,000 people were there.
Well, it's just such an awesome experience. Yep. Anytime you get a chance to represent your country, obviously the stakes are much higher, and he's right. He can one-up maybe Coach Dabo Swinney with the world. He doesn't have that banner in his trophy drawer.
Johnson tried to put State in front. It's a one-point game. Andre hit all 3 free throws. Trapp, Curran, Scott, Jemison trying to give him some minutes again off the bench here. Under 11 to go, and Curran Scott, who was part of that first half spark. He and Newman both. 8 to shoot. Newman backing down on Johnson. Shot fake. Jumper good. A dozen for John Newman III on his 4th field goal.
Yeah, and Coach Keats and staff wanted to travel on that. It looked like a pretty good turnaround jumper, and not bad D again by NC State. That's just a tougher shot. Newman in traffic.
Bates. Jemison, a double screen. Bates was open underneath. Andre can't knock the jumper down. Manny Bates the rebound to the cutting. Daniels had it poked away, and that was Mack. Clemson taking care of some of those details we talked about at the front.
And that's a really big break for them. It looked like NC State was going to get a nice layup off a nice backdoor cut, but big defensive stand.
Scott. Tough shot for Curran Scott. He's in double figures. 3rd time in the last 4 games he's been helping Clemson's from a scoring perspective with 10 or more points. Johnson. Got to cover Beverly. 2-point runner. Trap the rebound. Into the corner. A 3. Spun out for Mack. Kevin Keats wants his team to get it down the floor. Johnson tried to split out front. Draws the foul. I think it's on the big 7-footer, Trey Jamison.
Well, right here, this is all set up by an excellent recovery by Mack, and then they're able to get out. Not bad D again by NC State, but Scott again with the turnaround jumper. That's twice now we've seen Clemson do that. A guy get into the paint area, nobody to pass the ball to, and then they just make an individual play.
Now all of a sudden, Brad Brownell's got Dawes, Scott, and Trapp on the floor with Mack and Amir Sims. And Funderburk and Bates play together here for the Wolfpack. And that'll be a foul on Scott. Easy one for A.J. Desai to whistle. First on Curran Scott out of Memorial High School in Edmond, Oklahoma. There've been a few players come from that program. And that's number 4 on Clemson here in the second half. 5 for NC State as we play. Funderburk. Here's Helms. 5 to shoot. And the rebound from behind. Trap. Funderburk couldn't finish it. Here are the Tigers. 3-on-3 with Scott. You hear the Tiger or the State bench. Watch the slip. Scott on the drive, drew the contact, missed the shot, no whistle, and away comes the Wolfpack with a rebound.
Yeah, that's great defense by NC State. Nowhere to go.
Look at Beverly through the trees. Helms, that's a tough match for Scott, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think they got to try to get him in the post.
Daniels, the runner. And foul is going to be on Manny Bates for going over Amir Sims' back here on the whistle by Tony Henderson.
Yeah, dangerous play.
3rd on Bates, 6 on the Wolfpack. We continue in a moment. Well, Kevin Keats and NC State find themselves trailing 5 under 8 to go. And this is interesting because Clemson's run the same variation a lot here today.
Yeah, coming into this game, we didn't think ball screen defense, in particular, how NC State defense slips of screens was going to be key. But that has been the story of this game. That possession right there, NC State did a good job playing team defense, not allowing the Clemson big to dive to the lane and not have the help side there. That is going to be the key for them to close this game out.
You saw Kevin Keats, by the way, talking still to Tony Henderson about the call on Manny Bates. But here is the storyline that will permeate the final 7:55, and that is, can Clemson close this thing? The Tigers have struggled. They were tied with Miami. They led at Florida State and in the first game of the year against Virginia Tech in their other 3 ACC games, and haven't been able to get any of them to the house. Can Brad Brownell's team change that trait today? That characteristic of this 2019-20 Tiger basketball team. Newman for Dawes. 3 to shoot. Curran Scott with 1 on the clock. Back rim miss, and NC State the rebound with Johnson. Malcolm, I know you talked about, and there's a reach on Newman. I know you mentioned earlier it's a mental thing, but at what point on the clock? I know it's easy to say the end, right? But you mentioned there was a possession in the Miami game in the final minute. There are going to be possessions now till the end that are going to be just as critical as the ones that happen at the end.
That's why point guard play is so critical, and that has been an issue for Clemson. And you can see that's why they've struggled to close out games. You can't turn the ball over as we take a look at excellent ball movement by NC State. But back to your point, the teams that have excellent point guard play at the end of games, look, it might sound that simplistic, but you have to have a floor general putting guys in the right spots and then making the right plays so they can execute to close out games. 5
for Funderburk. He's to the line for the first of 2. Don't forget, game 2 of our ACC network coverage of basketball comes up tonight, 6 o'clock, Smith Center in Chapel Hill. Carolina's won the last 2 meetings and 9 of 10 against Georgia Tech. 6 o'clock Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Mike Monaco, Jordan Cornette will be courtside in Chapel Hill to see if Roy Williams can pass his mentor Dean Smith tonight with career win 880. Funderburk hit the free throw. It's a 3-point game, and Newman can't finish inside. Sims, the rebound, and the foul will be on Bates, and that's, if Manny Bates is ticketed, it'll be his 4th. And that is 7 now on the Wolfpack with 6:41 to go.
Well, I like right here what Clemson did. They played to their advantage. Newman had the clear size advantage, and then that's just great work on the offensive glass by Sims.
And here is Trapp and Daniels for their respective schools. Just 4 second-half points for Amir Sims, which gives him 12 in the ball game. And the second one good.
Coach Brownell has talked about the year that he has had thus far for Clemson, saying he's been playing outstanding for us, consistent, doing a lot of different things defensively and offensively for Clemson.
5-point game, zone now by the Tigers. Malcolm.
I like it.
Got to be careful with number 10. There's a hand check on Mack. Well, Tevin Mack has picked up 3 quick. And that is 7 now on Clemson with 6:23 to play. And here is Braxton Beverly, who is 13 of 16 at the line this year. 81%. He does not have enough conversions per game to be listed among the stats in the ACC, but I feel confident in telling you he's one of the better free throw shooters in the league.
Well, you didn't jinx him. I was going to wait for him to make the first one, the old jinx. So.
By the way, I promise you, I will tell you when somebody's hit him and missed him. Well, that's not on me. That's on that guy. 9 for Beverly, who averages 13 against the league. Backcourt pressure again by NC State. Clemson has done a decent job of taking care of the basketball against us today.
They really have. Only 8 turnovers in this game. That has really not been a factor for Clemson versus this NC State defense.
And there's a foul on Helms. It'll be his 3rd and his 1st since he got 2 early in the ball game. Now the Tigers, remember, are 11th in the league in free throw percentage at 69% coming in. Clemson today is 11 of 13. And here's Alamir Dawes, the freshman from Jersey, to the line where he's 70% for a 1-and-1. And the first one good.
Well, I like what he has done, the freshman. In particular, his defense on Johnson. Again, we talked about coming into this game how they were going to defend Markel Johnson. Dawes has spent the majority of the time on him, and he has done an excellent job keeping him under control and out of the paint area, trying to make plays for his teammates.
5-point lead after Dawes hit them both. Andre's come back on the floor, another perimeter shooter for NC State. Daniels is there. Johnson, Beverly, and Funderburk for Coach Keats. Boy, Newman against Johnson. Sims tried to hedge and help. 10 to shoot here for Markel. On the drive, Newman blocked it off the glass, and Funderburk recovers for the Wolfpack basket.
Well, excellent play by Newman to recover after Johnson got by him. But the offensive rebound put back. NC State still within 3.
3-point game. Mack the catch, reversed it up and in.
Well, I'm just going to say, let's just get a tape of this. If you want to learn how to run screen and roll offense, in particular, teach your bigs how to slip screens, play this Clemson game.
Funderburk wanted the ball on the block against Sims, and a foul is going to be called. A.J. Desai with a whistle. And it's going to be on Newman, and that's his 4th with 5:10 to play.
How many times do you think we've said they slipped the screen in this broadcast? I mean, it's
12.
I mean, it's
15.
I mean, I think more.
Yeah.
I'm saying more. I mean, it seems like on every possession, the Clemson bigs are coming to set a ball screen, and they're diving hard, slipping screens towards the basket.
Markel Johnson, the front end of the 1-and-1, no good. 4th best free throw shooting team in the ACC at 71%, and that's a miss on the front end. 5-point game, under 5. Sims, another cut, skips to the corner. Big ball by Curran Scott. The lead is 8. Beverly, baseline. Sims had it, slapped away. It'll belong to the Tigers.
You can't execute any better on the offensive side. Slip the screen again, there's that word, and then kick out to a wide open three-point shooter. That right there is how you execute in the half court.
Amir Sims doing a little bit of everything here, Malcolm. Cheerleading, directing on the floor, slipping screens. I mean, talk about being the leader now.
It's really, again, I like his versatility. I said it before. I think he's a guy that could potentially play for a paycheck at the next level, whether it's overseas or the right team, but he's so versatile.
Brad Brownell's team is up 8, 4:26 to go at Littlejohn. Tigers looking for their first ACC win. You know what they always say in this business, Malcolm? You got to keep the alums happy, especially when the basketball alums are here. Several Clemson Tigers. That's Wayne Buckingham on the far left, among a group of about 60 that were honored here before the game. There's Big Buck. He could call for it at the block. Right here in the front row, by the way, with the purple hat on, that is Raleigh, North Carolina's Billy Williams.
Wow.
Let me tell you now, they got a banner here for a 1980 Elite Eight team, and that cat was responsible. Horace Wyatt, he's on that team. They had other guys, too, you've heard of, like Larry Nance and Moose Campbell and guys like that, but that joker right there at the front, Billy Williams, could go do it.
Your memory bank,
Stop.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's just, I'm just going to call it out. It's impressive. It's beyond impressive, your memory bank.
Billy Williams could go. Here's Mack at the horn for a three. Still an 8-point game. We get ready to go under 4. Markel Johnson on the dribble drive. Tried to force it up. And Earl Walton said last touch by Clemson. I think it's off the hand of Johnson.
Yeah, if there's no foul, yeah, absolutely so.
That'll get us to a timeout. Tiger ball and an 8-point lead. Kevin Keats' team in a scrap here at Littlejohn. Eight-point lead for the Tigers. We're under 4 to go at Littlejohn on a busy day of ACC basketball with Malcolm Huckabee, West Durham, and that little guy doesn't know what to think of that big cat. Clemson's going to have the ball. Don't forget all ACC tonight following the Jackets and Tar Heels from Chapel Hill. Breakdown of the full day, and it'll be a busy one in ACC basketball. Miami Duke's the nightcap tonight on ESPN, and you'll get interviews and everything else. I think you got a full crowd of people up there. Katie George tonight, by the way, handling the All-ACC program. The coveted invite, if you will. All right, NC State press here. Malcolm, you want it? How do you want it?
I like it. Pressure. Remember, Clemson closing out games. Turnovers have been an issue for Clemson. It's simple. Can't turn the ball over, but then continue to execute and get high percentage shots like you've been doing all game long.
State goes to a zone, 15 to shoot. Funderburk playing at the front, though. Entry pass beyond the reach of Sims, and a foul called on Helms. The hold on the St. Louis sophomore Jericole Helms is his 4th. 9 on NC State.
And you don't see this often, Wes. Guys posting up bigs versus the zone. I've had a Syracuse game earlier on, and you see teams try to attack the zone that way. Ball screens, but then also tried to post up out of the zone. That's excellent patience and execution by Clemson that time, posting up Sims.
Amir Sims 6 for 7 at the line, 1-1. Pretty good ball game for the junior from Palmyra, Virginia. He's had 3 games of 20 or more this year. Knocks the free throw down. He's got 7.5, 15 in the ball game. 7-0 run by the Tigers, whose lead is 10. Johnson to Daniels. Off the window and in. Tough shot, Devin Daniels, 6.5, 11 in the ball game, and a Kevin Keats timeout with 3:22 to play. 32nd timeout for NC State. who, by the way, has Notre Dame at PNC Arena on Tuesday night, and then next Saturday is in Blacksburg against Mike Young's Virginia Tech team. Clemson, talk about a game being important. They don't play until next Saturday in Chapel Hill after today's ball game. And then the following Tuesday, day after the national championship game in football, they get Duke here. Don't forget, it's a full slate. We told you at the top, this is the first full day of an ACC basketball card. You see the 1-point Pitt Wake game. That's been a fantastic game today at the Peterson Event Center. And then the battle for first, Malcolm. Florida State and Louisville coming up with Dick Vitale, Bob Wischusen on ESPN2 at the top of the hour.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that game. But you look at just overall in the ACC, take a look at these games right here. I think it's wide open. We've heard this theme all year, but I do think this is a year where really 3 through 15, you have no idea what's going to happen in the game. I don't think there is one dominant team.
Sims tried to feed it through traffic to Mack and turned it over. Clemson has avoided those perils so far today. And now they are the beneficiary of a Markel Johnson giveaway. Turned over by Johnson, then he commits his third foul, which is 10 now on NC State. So 2 shots on every common foul in the final 3:05 for the Tigers.
Well, it's been a frustrating afternoon for Markel Johnson, and credit Clemson in the defense, in particular the team defense. Again, they've given him very little breathing room or opportunities to get going to the basket, and the result, that was his 5th turnover of the game.
Dawes the free throw. Alamir Dawes, by the way, signed up with Brad Brownell and out of Newark, New Jersey, and said no to Seton Hall and Providence in the recruiting process to come be a part of the Tiger program, and he's pushed the lead back to 10. Daniels. Tell you what, Clemson's doing a pretty good job, it looks like, on the perimeter here. 15 to shoot. Johnson slashes and blocker charge. It'll be a block. And the foul will be on the freshman Dawes, his 2nd. 9 on the Tigers. So here is Markel Johnson to shoot a couple of free throws.
But to your point, they're making them work. In this last 6 to 7 minute stretch, the defense really has been a team effort,
right.
But they've made NC State work for every bucket that they've gotten.
Johnson at the free throw line, missed the front end of the 2-shot chance. NC State now 12 of 17 at the line. Kevin Keats with his assistant Takeo Siddle beside him. And Johnson missed them both.
And if that's one Achilles heel for him, it has been that.
Yeah.
Coming into this game, 51% from the free throw line. That number has to go up from your point guard.
Dawes did a good job straddling the near side and then draws the NC State foul, and it's on Beverly. 3rd on Beverly. 2 shots coming for Dawes again. You're right, Johnson is, for a guy that has the rock in his hand, not a particularly good free throw shooter at just 51% coming in, and he's 0 for 3 today. Free throw by Dawes, rims out. Don't forget, women's basketball presented tomorrow by Food Lion, 2 o'clock start in Louisville on the River for the number 7 Cards and Duke. 2 o'clock start. Sunday, ACC women's basketball presented by Food Lion here on ACC Network. Dawes the back end. Clemson's got 5 guys in double figures. Alamir Dawes, who had 13 against South Carolina, 13 at Florida State in double figures today. Dumped inside, Funderburk, the hoop, and the foul. And Dawes gets his 3rd.
And that's not a good one by the freshman. Otherwise, he's played a really smart floor game. But yeah, he got him right on the arm. That's obviously not a hard foul. If you're going to foul in that situation, make sure he does not get it up.
Is that a film room? What are you doing?
Oh, absolutely. he will learn, but the freshman, up until that point right there, really has played a nice floor game for Clemson.
Backcourt pressure again by NC State. Scott got to try and fight through it. And a hell ball will go to Clemson with 2:25 to play. 8-point lead. Brad Brownell wants a timeout here. Kerr and Scott did not handle that double team very good.
No, you can't, first of all, catch the ball in that situation right there. You never want to catch out of a full court pressure in the corner. That's the dead area. But then also his teammates need to give him some help. He had nobody to pass the ball to right there. So they have to do a better job executing and breaking down that full court pressure by NC State.
So Brad Brownell a timeout. He wants to get his group on the same page for sure against NC State's pressure. Malcolm, this is a pretty big 2 1/4 here. 2:25 for Clemson, don't you think? Look at Gary Hahn, the longtime voice of the Wolfpack. He and the Clemson Tiger have become buddies there. I don't necessarily see the Tigers' credential, but I'll take his word for it.
It looks like we got a little trash talking going on.
I don't know what the.
I mean, come on.
First of all, Gary's a legend, and he's not going to put up with any rough stuff from the Tiger, I can promise you.
Well, he's talking trash, rocking the baby, maybe give him a little bye. But I'll tell you right now, we got ourselves a ball game, but you're right. Closing this game out, Clemson cannot turn the ball over. It comes down to making the plays that you've been making throughout this game. Let's see if they can do it.
How tough mentally is this going to be, right? Is this a group they've been trying to beat this bug for a while. There's a bounce out of the double team to Dawes. Quick exit across for Sims. Now to Trapp, got knocked away. Johnson with the turnover against Amir Sims. And Johnson touched it, saved it. Andre the layup. Wow. A little bit of chaos here for Clemson. And a Brad Brownell timeout in a 6-point game with 1:59 to go. Now Clemson has got to put the brakes on this, Malcolm. This is very similar to some stories that have already been written about the Tigers in terms of the way games have ended. Leads late. You got to find a way to protect the basketball.
You do, and I think it comes down to relaxing and settle down right here. You take a look at NC State, then turnovers. We talked about this time and time. Now, it has not been an issue in this game. Good recovery, and then Johnson comes back in. Heads up play, nobody else back in transition. You have to have 5 guys back in that situation, sprinting back. That's a tough break for Clemson, but it all started, though, with the turnover, which you cannot have to close this game out if you're Clemson.
So it's a 6-point game with under 2 to go, and Brad Brownell using the timeouts here. And you can see he has 1. Kevin Keats has 2 to go. Watch the play here at the basket. Markel Johnson, does he reestablish before he touches it?
Yeah, it looks like he had 2 feet down.
He got 2 feet back in bounds. It was close.
That's great body control and camera work by our crew. And, you know, I think if you're Clemson now, breaking the pressure, you have to have good spacing. You cannot have guys catching the ball in the corner and then nobody to throw the ball to. You have to put somebody in the middle, bring a big up to try to come back and relieve some of the pressure, and then see if you can get somebody going long if you're Clemson. But you cannot catch the ball in the dead corner if you're Clemson, because NC State's doing a nice job trapping.
Dawes, Scott, Mack, Sims, and Trapp on the floor for Clemson. Into Sims. And into the front court goes Amir Sims. Here comes the double team. He stays away with the dribble, gets to the basket in the layup.
That's why he's so valuable.
Markel Johnson almost lost it on a strip by Scott. He'll fire the high arcing 3. The rebound for Dawes. And the missed shot takes NC State out of most of their pressure package. Entry for Sims. Out of the corner, a 3. Sims the rebound. Right back for Mack. He scooped it up and in. It's a 10-point game. 72 seconds left. Daniels. And Dawes out of there with it, and a foul by Funderburk on the reach. And Clemson's got to feel a little better about their situation here with 1:05 to play.
Well, Amir Sims right here showing off the versatility. Oh, that right there is a 6'8" forward playing like a point guard with the finish. And then right here on the offensive guys, again, Amir Sims, big time rebound, and then a beautiful dump off pass. That possession right there really summed up his versatility. He can rebound, he can pass, but he also is versatile enough to put the ball on the floor, relieve pressures when the guards are getting pressured by NC State. He's just really played a good all-around game for Clemson.
Alamir Dawes, who had 13 points in the loss at Florida State, has 12 here this afternoon. And with 1:05 to go, the free throw good. I've been impressed with the combination of Dawes and Trapp. I know it's the first time Brad Brownell's done it, but seemingly it's paid some dividends here today.
Yeah, he's played under control. Turnovers were not a factor for that backcourt, but I think defensively, the job they did on this guy right here, that really was the key in this game.
Johnson rims in a three. Kevin Keats a timeout. 11 for Markel Johnson. That's his first three of the day, and that's NC State's first three of the second half. And given the kind of post that Clemson set on the threes today in the first half, you had to make more than just one in the second half if you were going to have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. But this guy that we're going to talk about, Amir Sims, really, he has been phenomenal for Clemson. Brad Brownell, we talked to him before the game. He said, listen, he is having a great year for us so far. Slip of the screen, show off the hops. Again, right here, ball screen defense by NC State first half was lacking. Beautiful no-look pass, but this right here is the reason why I believe he's a guy that could play for a paycheck at the next level, whether it's overseas or in the league. He goes about 6'8". He can handle. He's got a nice shot. He can defend, and he can play multiple positions. A really talented player for Clemson.
You like his leadership today, Malcolm?
He was the guy. Again, that last two possessions, gets him a bucket and then comes up with a big offensive rebound. A lot of guys in that situation would have put it back up. He makes a nice pass to his teammate for a layup.
9-point lead, and he gets the entry pass. Now back to Scott. And again, NC State tries to double. Lead pass for Dawes. And a reach across by Daniels. That'll be his second. A couple of free throws for Alamir Dawes coming up.
Foul is called on 24. Devin Daniels is second.
Dawes had 19 back in late November against Alabama A&M, but in terms of conference play, this will be his best performance so far.
I would definitely agree with that. And again, going back to the all-around game that he played, and I think the big number for him is the turnovers. That was not a factor for him in this game, and then he's knocking down free throws to close this game out. That's what you want from your guards, in particular freshman guard.
9 of 10 at the line in the second half is the freshman Dawes. Andre missing on the three. Daniels had a shot at it. Scott the rebound with 37 seconds left and a Wolfpack foul. And it will be on Devin Daniels. And Curran Scott's going to go the other end to shoot a couple. And Brad Brownell's team, although he'll work this thing till 0-0, but they got to feel pretty good about where they are in terms of picking up their first win in the ACC.
Yeah, it was a team performance. You talked about the stat where you had, it wasn't just one guy. It was a balanced performance. I think defensively they were sound, but how they executed, in particular in the half court, I mean, it was a backdoor clinic.
Did they counter NC State's aggressive nature at the defensive end and just use it against them?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, the surprising thing, the adjustments. Again, they were able to get out in transition, but the adjustments where they took open threes when they had them, but then they were able to slip screens. And then when NC State's defense was there set up, on the rotation, they made an extra pass to wide open shooters. They really adjusted well to the NC State defense, and again, that's a big reason why they have this lead right now, 29.5 seconds to go, although Brad Brownell is not going to stop until there's zeros on the clock.
No, because he's seen the way the last couple of these games have ended. So there's the free throw by Trapp. These are the first points of the day for Clyde Trapp. And yet he's been a big factor.
He has, and again, that knee is really not at 100%. He may not be there for this season, coming off the ACL tear that we talked about right before their Italy trip over the summer. But again, his leadership, I think, to go along with the freshman Dawes, that was key.
Johnson tried to lob it to Funderburk, and a catch and layup, but this will be all for naught with 15 seconds left, and Brad Brownell says, get in the front court and let's watch the clock run out. Clemson is going to scratch in the league. Boy, they've had some heartbreak hotel, but they're going to get a win of 11 points, 81-70. Nice effort by the Tigers, Malcolm.
Yeah, it was all-around effort. All guys got in it on defensively. Offensively, they executed in transition, but in the half court, they were phenomenal, putting on a backdoor clinic.
For our producer, Rick Walensik, our director, Todd Benjaminson, and our great ACC Network crew, and Malcolm Huckabee, West Durham reminding you the final. Clemson 81, NC State 70. More ACC basketball tonight at 6 o'clock when Georgia Tech visits Carolina in Chapel Hill. So long from Littlejohn Coliseum on ACC Network.